Captain Jake Morrison had seen plenty of strange things during his 15 years hauling cargo across the Outer Rim. But nothing prepared him for what he found in the wreckage of the crashed pod. The distress beacon had pulled him off course by 3 parsecs. His ship, the Wanderer, wasn't equipped for rescue operations, but Jake had never been one to ignore a call for help. The pod had crashed hard into the rocky surface of Kepler 442b, leaving a scorched trail half a kilometer long. He approached with caution, plasma rifle ready. Pirates sometimes used fake distress signals to lure in good Samaritans. But when he pried open the damaged hatch, he found only one occupant, a young woman, barely conscious, with pale blue skin and silver hair that seemed to shimmer in the dim light. She was small, maybe 5 feet tall, with delicate features and eyes that glowed faintly amber. Her clothes were torn, and a nasty gash ran across her shoulder. She looked up at him with fear and exhaustion. "Easy there," Jake said, holstering his weapon. "I'm not going to hurt you." She didn't respond, just stared at him with those luminous eyes. He couldn't tell if she understood English or if she was too injured to speak. Either way, she needed medical attention fast. Jake carried her back to the Wanderer, her weight almost nothing in his arms. He laid her in the medical bay and let the automated systems get to work. The scanners identified her species as Velen, from a planet he'd never heard of in a system that wasn't on any of his charts. For 3 days, she drifted in and out of consciousness. Jake stayed close, making sure the medical systems kept her stable. He learned her name was Lyra when she finally woke up enough to communicate through the ship's translator. "Why did you save me?" she asked, her voice soft and musical. Jake shrugged. "Because you needed help. That's reason enough." Lyra's eyes widened. "Your kind usually demand payment, compensation. You ask for nothing?" "Clean conscience is payment enough," Jake replied. "Besides, you don't look like you have much to give." She smiled then, a small thing that transformed her face. "You have no idea what you've done, Jake Morrison." He didn't understand what she meant, but he didn't push. Once she was stable enough to travel, he asked where she wanted to go. She gave him coordinates to a moon orbiting a gas giant 2 weeks away. Jake set course without hesitation. They talked during the journey. Lyra explained she had been fleeing from slavers who raided her colony. She was a scout, trained in survival and combat, but she'd been outnumbered. The escape pod had been her only option, though it was damaged and barely made it to Kepler 442b before giving out. "My people will want to thank you," she said as they approached her homeworld. "Not necessary," Jake insisted. "Just glad you're okay." But Lyra smiled that mysterious smile again. "They will thank you anyway. It is our way." Jake dropped her off at the coordinates, a small settlement built into the craters of the moon. Lyra embraced him before she left, her arms surprisingly strong. "You will see me again, Jake Morrison. Sooner than you think." He didn't know what to make of that, so he just nodded and watched her disappear into the settlement. Then he plotted course back to the trade lanes and put the whole encounter out of his mind. Except it wouldn't stay out of his mind. Something about Lyra stuck with him. Maybe it was her resilience, or the way she'd looked at him with such gratitude. Maybe it was just loneliness catching up with him after years of solo flights. 5 days later, Jake docked at his home station, a small outpost called Frontier's End that catered to independent haulers and miners. He was looking forward to a hot meal and a real bed when his comm system chirped with an incoming message. The face on the screen made him freeze. It was Lyra, but she wasn't alone. Behind her stood dozens of other women, all with the same pale blue skin and silver hair, all watching the camera with intense interest. "Jake Morrison," Lyra said formally. "We are coming to honor the debt." "Wait, what debt?" "I told you. but the transmission cut off. Jake stared at the blank screen, confused and slightly alarmed. What did she mean? They were coming. He got his answer the next morning when his door chimed. He opened it expecting a delivery drone, and instead found himself face to face with Lyra and approximately 30 other Velen women, all dressed in elegant robes that shimmered like starlight. "Hello again," Lyra said brightly. Jake's mouth opened and closed. "What? How? Why are you all here?" An older woman stepped forward, her silver hair streaked with darker blue. She had the bearing of someone used to command. "I am Elder Myra. You saved our daughter, our sister, our scout. You asked for nothing in return. This is unprecedented among the species we have encountered." "It really isn't that big a deal," Jake protested weakly. "It is everything," Elder Myra corrected. "Lyra has explained your customs, your loneliness, your solitary life among the stars. We have come to offer you something precious: family, community, a place to belong." Jake blinked. "I don't understand." Lyra stepped closer. "My people travel in tribes. We are explorers, scattered across many worlds. But we remain connected, always. You showed me kindness when you could have left me to die. You protected me, healed me, asked nothing. In our culture, this creates a bond. We would like you to join our tribe," Elder Myra continued. "Not as a slave or servant, but as kin, as family. We offer you our protection, our resources, our companionship. In return, we ask only that you remain true to the kindness you showed Lyra." Jake felt overwhelmed. He looked at the faces surrounding him, all watching with hope and warmth. These weren't cold aliens or distant strangers. They were people offering him something he hadn't realized he'd been missing. "I don't know what to say," he admitted. "Say yes," Lyra encouraged. "Say you'll let us be part of your life. Say you'll be part of ours." Jake thought about his ship, the Wanderer, and the lonely years of solo flights. He thought about eating freeze-dried meals alone and talking to himself just to hear a voice. He thought about Lyra's smile and the way these women looked at him like he mattered. "Okay," he said quietly. "Yes, I'd like that." The response was immediate. The women surged forward, not threatening but welcoming, surrounding him with laughter and warmth. They touched his arms, his shoulders, speaking in their melodic language, mixed with translated English. Elder Myra placed a hand on his chest. "Then it is done. You are tribe now. You are kin." Over the next few weeks, Jake learned what that meant. The Velen women were traders, explorers, and warriors. They had networks across dozens of systems, resources he'd never dreamed of accessing. But more than that, they were family. They checked on him daily, shared meals, told stories, taught him their customs. Lyra became his closest friend, teaching him the Velen language and their combat techniques. She explained that their species valued courage and compassion above all else, and that Jake had demonstrated both when he'd saved her. "You humans are rare," she told him one evening as they sat in the observation deck of his newly upgraded ship. "Most species see kindness as weakness. You see it as strength." "Not all humans," Jake corrected. "Plenty of us are just as bad as any other species. But you are not," Lyra said firmly. "That is why we chose you." Jake's life transformed. He still ran cargo, but now he did it with purpose. The tribe connected him with better clients, safer routes, more profitable runs. But more importantly, he was never alone. There was always someone to talk to, someone to share a meal with, someone who cared if he made it back safely. He'd rescued one alien girl from a crashed pod. In return, he'd gained 30 sisters, a dozen mentors, and a family that spanned the stars. Sometimes, Jake thought, the best salvage wasn't cargo or credits. Sometimes it was connection. And that was worth more and all the treasure in the galaxy.